Alright, so we're checking out the ECOFLOW River 2, and it's been about a year since I reviewed the original ECOFLOW River. Actually, that was the River Pro, which is a little bit larger capacity than this one. This is like the standard version. There's also going to be a mini and a pro version of this in the version 2 series. This is what came in the box here. Power station, of course, we'll look at that really close. We get a quick start guide manual. You get a car charger for charging the power station and an AC cable charger for charging it in the wall. And what is new about this new River 2 series is actually depicted on the back of the box. So right here on the back of the box here is basically it charges a lot faster than the first series. I think it's about 38% faster is what they told me. And 0 to 100% in about an hour, which is incredibly fast. This has this new battery technology or battery chemistry called LFP, or also known as lithium iron phosphate. And that gives you a lot more cycles. It's also more stable battery chemistry. So saying here it can achieve up to 3,000 battery cycles, which is about, I think, about 10 years of use if you're using it daily, 6 days a week. So yeah, it's basically you're gonna probably upgrade to a bigger power station at some point in the future before you lose any capacity in this power station. And of course, the last thing that they're pointing out here is that it is lighter and smaller than the original series. So that has to do with the better battery technology. You get more capacity in a smaller amount of space. So here's a look at the power station from the front. I'll put the dimensions of the power station up on the screen along with the weight. I believe it's about 7 pounds. So you have your standard cigarette lighter DC 12-volt outlet here, USB-A, USB-C. I believe this is 60 watts input and output. Another USB-A, and you've got this is your AC section here, and they're both pure sine wave inverters. You've got your screen here, which depicts how many hours the power station can last based on the power usage, input and output in terms of watts. The current battery capacity right now at 30%. So this is the right side, nothing here, just a caution sticker. Nothing here on the left. Here's a look at the bottom. You got 4 rubber feet. So here, looking at the back here, we have an exhaust fan. Nice handle in the back. On the River Pro that I had before, the handle was on top. So this is maybe give it a little bit slimmer look, but you can kind of hold it like this. And you can see it's not very heavy. So this is where you're going to plug in your AC cord to charge up the power station. Again, 0 to 100% in 1 hour, which is pretty fast. You have an XT60 connector there. That's also for the car charging and also charging via solar panels. I do have the solar panel, and I will show you that a little bit later in the video. So there were some specifications on the back of the power station, a little bit hard to read, so the numbers are a lot easier to read here in the manual. 256 watt hours for capacity, about 20 amp hours, about 7.8 pounds, and you can see the dimensions there. AC input 8 amps max. The DC is 11 to 30 volts, 8 amps max. So you have to make sure that whatever DC input you're using, like a solar panel, is within that voltage range. Make sure you don't blow anything inside this in terms of the circuitry inside the power station. You got your USB-C, which is power delivery up to 60 watts. USB-A 2 ports there, basically up to 12 watts max. DC output 12.6 volts, 100 watts max. And the AC output has a pure sine wave inverter, 300 watts total, and it can burst up to 600 watts. And by the way, the technology that allows this power station to charge from 0 to 100% in an hour is called Extreme. I think that's something that is specific to ECOFLOW. Alright, so ECOFLOW does have an app you can use on your smartphone to monitor the power station, also change some settings. I've already installed the app here. The Wi-Fi is already turned on automatically, and actually it's Bluetooth and Wi-Fi combined when you power on the power station. So when you open up the app, you can see my other power station, the River Mini, is already in here from before, and then it discovers that you can see the new River 2 here. Hit add. It's already sees that there. So you can see there's a message here that says that it only supports 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi. So I think you have to connect it to your home network. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so went ahead and put in my network password, and then it went ahead and connected up the power station to the app. And you can see here It's got some stats here, 99 hours available time, obviously nothing's on there, and about 30% capacity. Shows your watts input and output, it's basically stuff you can see on the screen, and also the status of the different ports. So I think this is going to be useful for those instances where the power station might be like under a cabinet or somewhere kind of maybe under a desk where maybe the screen isn't going to be as easily seen, and then you can just connect to the power station wirelessly through your phone and observe the status of what's going on in terms of the power consumption and charging, etc. from the app, which is kind of nice. So to get to additional settings, click on this little gear icon and you can adjust your settings here, like your AC charging speed, for example. If you don't want it to charge that fast, I guess you could bring that down. We want to max power here, and you can adjust some of the other settings here as well. This is the X boost for the basically it's the same technology on the original River series. So it has 300 watts of continuous output power, but it can burst up to 600 watts. And it does use a little bit of a trick with the current and voltage. So some devices it may work, and some devices it may not work. It kind of depends on whether or not it can operate at a lower voltage while maintaining that amount of current. That's how it can produce the maximum of 600 watts when it can only do 300 watts continuous. So that's the technology. You can turn that off if you find it to be a little bit buggy, and then it won't actually adjust the voltage on some of those devices. So you can turn that off here. So this is kind of nice to charge and just charge level. So if you want to say keep the power station under 100%, if you don't want to charge it up all the way, if you don't need the capacity, you can limit the charge, which is nice. That'll actually also increase your cycles and longevity of the battery. And if you don't want to go too low, so 0% might be too low for you, maybe at 10%, it will cut off any devices that are using the power station. That way you're not over discharging the battery, it keeps it into a nice little safe range. So I like this feature. And it looks like you can also do firmware updates here. So let's see if we have a firmware update. So it looks like we do have a new version. So we'll go ahead and update that. I'm going to do that a little bit later off the camera. All right, so I did the firmware update off camera. It's nothing too interesting. Basically just a few bug fixes. And there's actually two different types of firmware that was updated. There's the Wi-Fi firmware and also the firmware for the power station. So I did both of those, and we'll do some testing now. I'm going to show you the stats here on the phone as well as on the screen. And we're going to first charge up the power station via the AC plug. Okay, so we can see it ramping up now. 30% power capacity, 344 watts of input. And it's saying it'll be done in about 40 minutes. And here are the numbers on the app. So 39 minutes here, 31% capacity, and 344 watts of input. And it also shows you what's going on in the AC. It doesn't look like you can click on these. Alright, so while that's charging, I'm also going to plug in a device on the USB-C. So there's a laptop over here off screen. I'm going to plug that in. So you can see on the screen here it's showing 342 watts of input, 20 watts of output. That's on the USB-C side. On the app, it shows that as well, but it doesn't show anything. It shows 0 watts on the USB-C here on the app, which is interesting. Obviously nothing on solar. That's the XT60 connector on the back. I think these are just input currents or power. So obviously input of 342 watts on the AC, and then you could have also at the same time input on the solar and also on the USB-C. The USB-C is input and output, so I think that's why it's showing 0 watts, because there's nothing actually charging the power station via USB-C. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plug in a USB-C power supply and see if that changes that. All right, I'm going to disconnect the laptop here. So now we have 0 on the output, and I got another USB-C connection. This is to that Anchor 120 watt USB-C power supply. I'm going to plug this in. So that should bump up the total input. Looks like about the same. Yeah, so no change here on the app as well, just shows 0 watts on the USB-C. So let's go ahead and let's unplug both of these. Alright, so now we're showing all zeros, and let's just see if it'll charge via USB-C. Yep, so yeah, it doesn't look like it'll work on both at the same time because it's probably the AC is maxed out since the power station can go 360 watts max. But you can see on the USB-C, which is 60 watts, it does do, it's right now showing 57 here on the power station, and on the app it's also matching. So I imagine if you're doing USB-C charging here and then solar, I think all three of them have to be no more than 360 watts total input power on the power station. I think that's the max in the whole power station. Alright, a quick test on the power output capabilities of the pure sine wave inverter. So this is a heat gun here. Usually use this for heat shrink and stuff like that. It's 320 watts is what it is rated to. And we'll see the output here on the screen. And of course, you know, like all other power stations, this has all the standard overcurrent protection, over discharge protection, etc. So you don't have to worry about this kind of things. It will shut down in case of anything that's going to be dangerous. And I think this is only 320 watts. This should be well within the limits of the power output of the inverter. I will do another test here in a second with a hairdryer, which will draw too much current. So do this test first and we'll see what the numbers are like. You can see we're at 300 watts already, and it's holding steady around 298. And now you can hear the fan for the inverter has kicked in. As soon as I turned the heat gun off and the power stopped, the inverter fan turned off. Okay, I got another device on here. This is a hairdryer. I've done this power test, or this test on other power stations. It will draw up to 1500 watts, so I will start at the low setting and then we'll see what the power draw is like, and then we'll kick it up, and then eventually the power station should shut down. This is the lowest fan setting with no heat, and it's at 60 watts, 62 watts. Fan setting number 2, we're up to about 84 watts. Fan setting number 3, up to 123 watts. Bring it back down to the first fan setting. We'll turn on the first level of heat. So it looks like it looks like it already kicked off, the overcurrent protection kicked in. Looks like it was fluctuating around 400, 300 watts or so. It's kind of going up and down. I think it was trying to do the voltage trick with the X boost, and it then I think the hairdryer cut off there at that point. Okay, so this is the solar panel that they sent. It's a 110 watt solar panel, 18 volts nominal. It's pretty typical for a lot of these portable, foldable solar panels that work with these portable power generators. And they also sent along this MC4 to XD60 cable, so you can plug it into the back. So this thing, you just basically use the case as a stand and unfold it. Alright, so here's what the panels look like. There are 4 of them, and it's unfolded like this. Pretty high quality panel in my opinion, and this is the case. It just use the included carabiners there to hook it to the little holes and use this as a stand. I have this pretty close to the optimal angle. Sun is over there, so it's pretty close to the optimal angle. And here's what we're getting on the power station, 91 watts coming from the solar panels. And also here on the app, it's showing 91 watts. Actually, this boosted up to 91 watts. It is pretty much matching what the power station shows. Anyway, that's going to cover for this video. Got any questions, let me know. Link down in the video description if you want to check this out. Talk to you guys in the next one.